That being said, do I think Bernie Sanders should be running this PR campaign for Joe Biden? No, I don't. It's very weird for me to see him get on a stage, especially being interviewed by Krystal and being like he is this incredibly progressive candidate. He is doing more to further progressive values and ideals in America than anyone has before him and things like that. Like I don't want to hear that. All right, the moment, and Bernie Sanders knows this, demands for far further left policies right now than what exist. All right. What is it? It's been like over 20 years since the minimum wage has increased from $7.25. That is something that is like, at this point, these are starvation wages being paid to anyone who's earning minimum wage in America. That cannot continue to persist. Okay, let's watch this big expose that everyone won't stop talking about. Apparently, Krystal went real hard on Bernie. I'm actually pretty excited for this. I will say this, though. I'm a little bit upset that they didn't allow Kyle Kulinski to be involved in this segment. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know the situation behind that. But it seems like an odd choice. Whether or not you enjoy Kyle Kulinski, whether or not you think that Kyle Kulinski has gone too far in one direction or another, I do not know why he was not allowed to participate in this. Some people have suggested it's because of his close ties to Joe Rogan. But then again, the Bernie Sanders campaign was wise to accept Joe Rogan's endorsement. So I'm not entirely sure. I don't know what is going on. What is going on behind the scenes. Yeah. So this was Krystal Ball interviewing Bernie Sanders recently, and apparently held him to task on his, let's just say, not going as far left as everyone had hoped.
Whatever reason, Biden came into office and he looked around him and he said, you know what? Climate is an existential threat. We have got to deal with it. Yes, the working class has been decimated for decades now. We have got to address that. So what he did that no president, and you correct me if you think I'm misstating this, what he did said, well, we're going to spend 3% more here and 5% more there. What he said, these are the issues. We are going to deal with the needs of the children. We are going to deal with the needs of the elderly. We are going to deal with climate. We are going to deal with paid family and medical leave. We are going to deal with housing. Virtually every major crisis that we are facing, he is prepared to deal with. I have not seen a president in my lifetime who has done that. Am I wrong?
Oof. That is, it's weird to see Bernie Sanders running that much PR for Joe Biden. I'm not going to lie. I'm not happy for it.
I see that perspective, but I also see a president who's willing to let a lot of those agenda items be killed by the filibuster and the parliamentarian.
Right. Well, but again, I don't want to defend him. I think the point you made a few minutes ago is exactly right. In this critical moment, when we're dealing with the future of the planet, when we're dealing with the future of democracy.
Total side note. I don't know if it's just the post-processing, but it seems like the lights were a little strong on this one. Like, seems like they're just doing massive floodlights. No, her name is spelled Krystal now. It's Krystal Ball. If you didn't know that, then yeah, I'm sorry you're not in. Well, I mean, I'll add an S for posterity, I guess. All right, fine. There you have it.
You know what? I think majority should rule and not the. I believe that strongly. But don't think that he can snap his fingers, no matter what he may or may not believe, and make things happen. All right, there are senators.
There are certain things he could do, though, through executive act. For example, canceling student debt.
Yeah, yes. That's right. That's right. There are things he can
legalizing marijuana.
Yes.
He could potentially do through an executive order. And so there hasn't been a willingness, even though he says, yes, I support the $15 minimum wage. Yes, I support the PRO Act, to use all the tools that are at his disposal to actually make those things happen.
You're absolutely sure of that.
Is that fair?
No. I mean, in other words, you do not know about the discussions that he has with people who walk into his office. Okay. No, it's wrong to assume that when you're dealing with a United States senator who does not want to end the filibuster, that he can go in there and say, hey, I want you to do that. No. So don't give the president...
Although he could do what you proposed. When you were asked on the trail, how would you deal with Senator Manchin? You said, I'd go to West Virginia. I'd do the rally. Yeah. I'd call him out.
Right. I mean, there are things you could do. All that I'm saying, do not minimize. I mean, and I don't want to get into personalities, but
sure.
Any member of the United States Senate has the power to kill this thing. And to think that the president alone can change that is...
Yeah, I got to be totally honest. I completely agree. I think Krystal is asking important questions. I think she's being incredibly respectful as she's asking them. But these are very valid concerns. And they're valid concerns to be pushing up against, Chairman Bernie and one of the most, progressive members of the current administration. Apparently, these are questions that a lot of people got very upset at her for asking. Whereas I don't think, first off, I don't agree with the narrative that came out online that Bernie Sanders was squirming during, have you ever seen Bernie Sanders? I was like, squirming. He's just legitimately answering these questions very calmly. There's no squirming here. He might not be giving the answers you want, but that's very different than saying that this is Bernie Sanders. He got flustered when he was accused of certain things. No, he's just been asking. Yeah, he's Bernie being Bernie. Unfortunately, he is right now running a bit of a PR campaign for the Biden administration. Bernie is doing what Bernie has always done his entire career. He's trying to affect as much change as he can within the levers of power that he has. And so part of that is, of course, not to get out there and be like, Biden is an utter and complete shit. Why isn't he fighting for all these things? Why has he not done, an executive order on student debt? But it is entirely true. And something that could be brought up is that he has the power at any time right now to try and push forward removing a large amount of student debt through executive action. He can also try and remove some of the more egregious war charges, criminalization of marijuana, for example. You can try and do that through executive action. There will be undoubtedly people battling these kind of decisions in the courts. Yes, that will happen, but that doesn't change the fact about whether or not you have done it in the first place. Progressive Canuck, thank you.
It's not 100% correct.
Sure, but there are executive actions that he could take on student debt and other things that he could do. We can agree on that,
I am
right?
not, yes. Joe Biden and I, marijuana, I think the war on drugs has been just a disaster for this country, for the African-American community. I think it should end. I think marijuana should be legalized. You're right, we do that fairly simply. So we have differences. But on this piece of legislation, at the end of the day, if we are successful, this will be a major, major achievement.
So interesting, Krystal.
Yeah, so
pushed him a little bit.
Couldn't really.
Oh God, I can't stand you. The biggest thing is that people keep saying, Lance, why are you upset at this format? Okay, we need to be able to reach across the aisle, and we need to be able to talk to Republicans. We need to be able to have conservative voices. Otherwise, we'll never bridge the gap. When half of the country, whether it be in Canada, whether it be in the United States, half of them are conservatives, half of them are usually liberals, neoliberals. Well, actually, both of them can be neoliberals, but most of them are liberals, most of them are conservatives, and the left is very, very small. So we need to bridge that gap. And I am not against having conversations, all right, with right-wingers, with having conversations with conservatives, and trying to find out where exactly do people's, where do we meet? Where are our common goals and aspirations, and how could we work towards achieving those? That is all fine. That is all fine and valid. I do not consider Sagar to be a good faith actor. I do not consider Sagar to be someone who is there to bridge that gap. I consider him to be an incredibly dangerous, malicious actor who is trying to push for very, very powerful, let's just say, neocon-esque agenda issues, and utilizing this entire thing as a backdrop to, again, aggrandize and make himself larger, give himself a bigger megaphone, and obviously take a lot of weird glee. Also, motherfucker did not eat a sock. Did not eat it, okay? Put it in his mouth, fine. It was washed and then spit it back out. Did not eat the sock. That's it, okay?
Disagree.
I don't really know who this guy is. When did Mr. Institutionalist? So I gotta say, this is very, very out of character for him. It makes sense in the context of your interview. Look, Bernie, the reason he's talking this way, he's a Senate budget chairman now, which is frankly, at least at this moment, one of the, what is he, probably the third most powerful person in Washington behind Chuck Schumer?
I mean, at this exact moment, he is that. And I actually talked to him about, I asked him, do you still see yourself as an outsider? Mm-hmm. Because, I wanted to see what that's been who he has been for 40 years. Yeah. Even when he was mayor of Berlin, he was still the outsider. He's a socialist mayor, right? Probably the only one in the country at the time. And then you're seen as this gadfly in the House, and then you're seen as this gadfly in the Senate, and you're just out there throwing bombs. You're taking the 99-1 votes and all of that stuff. And now you're in the room. Now you're the one who's thinking about like, oh God, I gotta not say anything that's gonna piss off Joe Manchin and lose his support because I gotta get this.
And you could see that very clearly.
I gotta get this bill done. But it's not in his nature to spin in the way that most politicians do. So he just sort of grants like,
he's like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and then you're right. What can I say?
It's like, yeah, dude, but what are you going to do? Are you going to do something?
Okay, great. Nice. So what exactly are you hoping that Bernie Sanders does? Do you think he's going to be able to force Joe Biden to suddenly make executive orders based on him? Is he going to hold him to task using his chairman position? Is it going to be like, I will not pass a single piece of legislation, including ones that I agree with, you know, including ones like Bernie Sanders is on board for a massive infrastructure spending bill. He's on board for a massive bill that is going to help, you know, the children of lower income families be able to get, you know, tax relief. He's for those things. So is he then going to say, well, I'm not going to actually approve or sign off on these things until you also do some other things that I want. And then we're going to see if this great schism works and push up against each other, right? That's basically what they're kind of demanding. It's very similar to what exactly do you expect AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and a lot of them to do in regards to passing Medicare for All? They are on board with Medicare for All, but they do not have access to this Medicare for All button. Now, that being said, do I think Bernie Sanders should be running this PR campaign for Joe Biden? No, I don't. It's very weird for me to see him get on a stage, especially being interviewed by Krystal and being like, he is this incredibly progressive candidate. He's doing more to further progressive, you know, values and ideals in America than anyone has before him and things like that. Like, I don't want to hear that. All right. The moment, and Bernie Sanders knows this, demands for far further left policies right now than what exists. All right. What is it? It's been like over 20 years since the minimum wage has increased from $7.25. That is something that is like, at this point, these are starvation wages being paid to anyone who's earning minimum wage in America. That cannot continue to persist. It's 12 years. All right, 12 years. That is an incredibly long time. You know, it's very disgusting that we're allowing that to still go on. They do have their socialism buttons, and I wish they'd push them. But until they push them, I can't expect this single-handedly to be the reason why we're going to basically tarnish Bernie Sanders and run him through the muck.
Again, that I've always really appreciated about you and the way that you've thought about the Trump era is you've recognized him as a symptom of these broader underlying problems. And as I was looking at some of the statistics this week, every metric that was bad when we got Trump has gotten worse. So inequality now, we're not just in the Gilded Age, we've surpassed the Gilded Age. We had the worst year ever for addiction overdoses. Mental health has collapsed. All of these indicators that tell you, you know, you've got a society where you have a lot of people who are hopeless, a lot of people in despair.
We did a hearing, by the way, on life expectancy.
Yeah.
And which got no, by the way, got virtually
no coverage.
None. So, but the point to be made is that if you're wealthy, you're going to live 10, 15 years longer in America than if you're poor. Can you believe that?
Wow.
No one was particularly, very little media interest in that.
Wow. So given that all of those metrics have gotten worse and they're
getting worse. And that's why I say that right now, Joe Biden cannot simply be positioning himself to the left of Barack Obama. He has to be positioning himself to the left of FDR. Like, that's what the moment calls for. You need to be, like, provide immediate, substantial relief to the Americans who need it the most right now. And specifically, not only because it will save lives and it's the right thing to do, it's cheaper for you to end homelessness, for example, than it is for you to perpetuate homelessness on the whole. Like, it costs $20 billion. That's the cost, the price tag associated with ending homelessness permanently in America. $20 billion. That is a fucking fraction of the cost of what is spent in discretionary spending on the military every single year. I mean, if you just said, let's lop $20 billion off of the cost of the military budget this year, which I believe was the exact amount that Joe Biden increased the U.S. military discretionary spending over Trump, and then we just put that towards ending homelessness, that would go a very long way towards improving the conditions of millions of American lives. These are things that you can do. You have the power to do it, and these are very, very important. Where did I get the $20 billion figure? From the Department of Housing from the United States. This is not my number. It's from the United States own Department of Housing and Urban Development. So that's their actual figure. So if that is the cost associated with that, then please do that. do these things that will not only improve the lives, it'll save you money. From a capitalist perspective, it's a huge thing. It's a massive thing. You will not only save money, but it'll cost you less in burdens. You'll pay less in policing. You'll pay less in hospital bills. You'll pay less in overdoses. You'll pay less in people stealing on the street in order to be able to get enough money to live. Things like this will all go down. So from a capitalist perspective, you want to do this. It's net win. You don't even have to do it from an altruistic standpoint, you know?
That our former president seems very interested in running again.
Yeah.
Do you think he could get reelected?
Sure. Look,
didn't Biden put the budget for the military lower than Trump? Are you talking by percentage of ratio? I mean, the flat out fact is that he increased the amount of discretionary spending that is going to be put onto the budget. You can make an argument that yes, Trump would have increased it even further. I would entertain that, but we don't live in this what if scenario. We live in Joe Biden's America. And so at this point, I have to call out Joe Biden.
I think you have, and this would be a whole other longer discussion.
Yeah.
You got many millions of people who are working longer hours for lower wages. They are hopeless about the future. Their kids are not doing well. They're turning to drugs, to alcohol, even to suicide. They're going nowhere in a hurry. Somebody's got to talk to those people. Somebody's got to talk to those people. And I think the Democratic Party has not done a particularly good job in that. I hope, if I ever have the damn time, and we can pass this bill, to actually get out into Trump land and to start talking to working class people. Because when people are frustrated and angry, they turn to bad things. I mean, that's where racism and sexism and homophobia and xenophobia rear their ugly heads. And what we have got to do is say to those people, look, there is a reason why you can't afford to send your kid to college. There is a reason why the rich are getting richer and you're getting poorer. Let's talk about what those reasons are, how we can create a nation that works for all of us. And you got to be involved in that. And in Trump, what people don't talk about, you may have noticed, Trump has held some rallies recently. Huge turnouts for a non-campaign moment. So is he a potent threat? Yes. And we have got to think long and hard about how we reach out to those people, many of them, not all, some of them are going to be racist, and frankly, you're never going to reach
Nothing
them.
you can do about it.
And that is really sad. It upsets me very much. That is a reality. But not all of them are. You've got to give them some hope. You've got to give them an alternative. And I don't think we're doing anywhere near enough. Now, what this bill is about, this crumpled piece of paper, this is the legislative language. You got it? What it's about is saying to those people, you've given up on government, but you know what? We have not given up on you. We know you can't afford to send your kids to college. You're going to be able to do that, at least for 2 years. You can't afford childcare. You can't afford teeth in your mouth. We're going to address that. Is that all that we have to do? No. Is this an important step forward in order to restore the faith of millions of people that their government can work for them, not just, billionaire campaign contributors? That's what this is about.
So, I mean, to summarize, I agree with Bernie Sanders. I don't agree so much that I think Trump is going to be the viable threat going forward. Trumpism is, and the cult of Trump and what he's unleashed in America, no doubtably, there's a new neologism for you. No doubtably, undoubtedly is going to be what is going to be pushed forward in terms of Republican right-wing rhetoric for the next little while. The problem with Trump. And the problem with Trump and strong men seizing power, especially the idea of like a neo-fascist, proto-fascist, whatever, is going to be that they galvanize people and they really tap into people's fears, and they're good at that. And when people are afraid and the conditions are getting worse and they're hopeless, they want someone who's going to come in and fix all that for them. And those people who are going to come in there and fix it, they have a really good way of identifying the problem and then using what we call an scapegoat. Basically, this is what is wrong with all of you. It happens to be the immigrants, it happens to be the brown people, or it happens to be perhaps the poors, or perhaps in this case, the new version of it is going to be the globalists and the elites, right? And all of these, nebulous, ambiguous kind of dark groups of people are going to be what is causing your troubles. not the systems that are in place, not the systems that are exacerbating poverty. None of that. CRT is one of the new boogeymen. All of it is about othering another group and placing all the problems onto them instead of looking at the economic systems that are perpetuating this poverty, that is perpetuating addiction, all right? Or even look towards big tech. I mean, big tech has a very large part to play in all of this now because of the way that it's monetized their social interactions and made us all hyper addicted to social media. And none of these interactions make us better. They make us angrier. They make us have way less shorter attention spans. We spend all day online. At the same time, we're just screaming past each other. Everyone is scared, afraid, angry, and horny. And all that mix is making for a very strange online scene, which is also depressing people and making them unable to do IRL activism, which is very, very necessary. You need to be able to get out there and knock on doors. You need to be able to get out there and go to protests if you're able to. I don't want to be like ableist here. If you don't want to leave your house, you don't have to leave your house. But I'm just saying that this whole system that we have, it's combining and it's just perpetuating all these problems. And the solution to it is not, of course, to make little small incremental changes that'll ideally benefit a handful of people, but will get marred in political turmoil. What is necessary is big, bold steps, and to do it rapidly before, of course, the midterms, before the next election cycle, before the pendulum can swing hard in the other direction. Because, Donald Trump, for all his shitty behavior, was very ineffective politically in terms of getting things passed through legislation, outside of course, his big tax break, because, of course, the Republicans are like, yeah, sure, this one's speaking our language. We love huge tax breaks for the top 1%. So yeah, let's do that. Let's continue on with that. But there is going to be much more effective politicians who come along and are like, we know exactly how we can continue to marginalize and sideline everybody, and it's going to be horrifying.
Do you want movies and Serfs watching the movies? So then come over to the new channels. It's the Serfs Cinema. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Can you do the thing, that thumbs up and comment and all those things that help us out in the algorithm that controls every aspect of our lives? Also, if you happen to have a Facebook account, can you delete it? Like just delete it. You should probably delete your Facebook account because it's not a great company. But hey, if you can't do that for whatever reason, I understand. And could you also go to facebook.com/thesurftimes then and give us a little like and a follow. We're just trying to push back against the fact that people like Ben Shapiro happen to dominate the platform entirely. And when everyone asks, why do older generations believe the things they believe? One of the problems is the majority of them on social media use Facebook. So to counter that, we're just going to be on there too now. Also, if you happen to have a union or a worker co-op or even a leftist project, podcast, website, Zoom, MySpace, it doesn't matter. We will advertise it for free on this channel. All you got to do is go to weareserfs.com and use the forms that we got there, weareserfs.com. Thanks, everybody.
To our wonderful gods, Xander Corvus, VK Jehannam, T. Grow, and Peyton L. Just, may you smite all of our enemies. To our monarchs, Tom Spiker and the Tim Caucus, we are your humble servants, ready to do all your bidding. To our lords, Evan Nudie, Trevor R., Alexander Thaler, Ryan Lubin, and Jeff Lamb, we shall proudly carry your banner on the online battlefield. To our Knights of the Round Table, Val 9000, Jenna Tal, Dark Puppy, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Chronic to Hemphog, Phone Jenny, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Jibby Big Nuts, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Yopi, Josh Mickelson, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our glass and we raise our swords and we salute you.